Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for when the lights go out for boys and girls around the world. Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for bed? Are you all snuggled up and ready for another Lights Out bedtime story? Well, you are in for a treat tonight because I have just picked up a book and it just happens to be my daughter's favorite book by David Williams called Fing, an explosively funny tale. Now, I hope this is going to turn out like George's Marvelous Medicine by Roald Dahl and the Twits. So this is going to be part 1. And we are well on our way to 1,000 ad-free stories forever for boys and girls around the world. But let's get back to the story, because it's all about the story. Once upon a time. This is the story of a child who had everything, but still wanted more. Just one more thing. Say hello to Mr. Meek, Daddy, I guess, Mrs. Meek, and Myrtle Meek. And the thing? Sometimes perfectly nice parents have children who are monsters. Meet the Meeks. This is the father, Mr. Maurice Meek. As his name suggests, Mr. Meek is a mild-mannered man. He likes to wear socks with his sandals and would not dare to eat a peach in public. Mr. Meek works as a librarian. He loves libraries as they are quiet, like him. This is a man who wouldn't say boo to a goose, or indeed any species of bird. This is mother, Mrs. Meredith Meek. She wears her glasses on a chain around her neck. The most embarrassing moment of her life was when she once sneezed on a bus and everybody turned around and looked. It will not surprise you to learn that she is also a librarian. Meredith met Morris at a library. They were both so painfully shy that they never spoke a word to each other for the first 10 years of working there. Eventually, across the poetry aisle, Morris and Meredith fell in love. Some years later, they were married, and some years after that, they had a baby girl. This is their daughter, Myrtle. You might be thinking that nothing could be sweeter than a little baby girl. Wrong. From the moment she was born, Myrtle was an absolute horror. Whatever she was given, dummies, cuddles, toys, rubber duckies, the baby demanded more. Myrtle's first ever word was more. She uttered it on the very first day she was born. It was more milk baby Myrtle was demanding, even though she had already guzzled a gallon. More was a word the infant would say over and over and over again. Ma, ma, ma. Being meek by name and meek by nature, Morris and Meredith didn't dare stand up to their monster of a child. Whatever baby Myrtle wanted, baby Myrtle got. Her parents bought the baby daughter's toys and more toys, even though she would instantly smash them into pieces. Bish bash bosh, ma ma ma. As a toddler, they gave their daughter crayons and more crayons. Myrtle would use them to scrawl all over the walls, scratch, before snapping them into two, snap. Ma, ma, ma. As she grew bigger and bigger, and bigger still, Mr. and Mrs. Meek would feed Myrtle chocolate biscuit after chocolate biscuit after chocolate biscuit, more and more and more, even though Myrtle would take great delight in spitting the crumbs back on their faces. Splurt, split, ma, ma, ma. Part 1. More. Chapter 1. The years passed. Mr. and Mrs. Meek secretly hoped that their daughter was just going through a phase, but this phase was not one she ever grew out of. In fact, Myrtle's behavior became worse and worse over the years. The nasty noughts turned into the outrageous ones, then followed by the terrible twos and the tumultuous threes. After the fearsome fours and the frightful fives came the sickening sixes and the spiteful sevens, and there were the uproarious eights and the noisy nines. Oh my word, they were noisy. Now, 9, Myrtle would wake her parents up every morning by howling, "Wow, I want a teddy bear. Wow, I want a pony. Wow, I want a suitcase full of money." The girl would make such a din that the Little Meek family's house would actually rattle. Books would fly off the shelves, whoosh, bonk. Pictures would fall off the walls with a dunk and a shatter. Plaster would shower down from the ceilings, crumble, donk. Poor Mr. and Mrs. Merkel would be hurled out of bed. They would scramble to their feet and immediately run around doing their daughter's bidding. They gave Myrtle everything, but everything was never, ever enough. Oh no, the girl wanted one more thing. The end of Chapter 1, Part 1 of The Fing by David Williams. Here on the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls who just want one more thing around the world. Stay tuned for Part 2 of The Fing. Good night. Wow, that was funny.